If you've struggled with stress, balance, or burnout, and simply feel discouraged or even defeated, and if you're ready to move from force to flow and enjoy ultimate Zen success in your career, health, or relationships, then the Zen Success Show is for you. Your host, Carissa Sims, is an entrepreneur, corporate consultant, best-selling author, meditation teacher, and healer who has found her own Zen success. Here's your host, Carissa Sims.
Welcome to this week's episode of Zen Success. Today, I had the pleasure of speaking with Peggy Mccoll. Peggy has been through enormous life challenges, from being suicidal, deeply in debt, cancer, divorce, loss of both parents, death of her closest sibling. And I don't know why that really touched me. Of all the things you've been through, your sibling, for some reason, I felt like a really deep connection between you. And loss of her mentor of 44 years. However, she transformed every part of her life and now lives what would be considered a charmed life. So definitely all of those incidences could be enough to be magnificent, to make it through any of those. So like a dog with a bone, Peggy never let go of her dreams. In the 1990s, she decided to dedicate her life to making a positive and beneficial contribution to the lives of others. She is a New York Times bestselling author, has written and released 21 fiction and nonfiction books. Last count, her books have been translated into 37 languages. Peggy's approach is practical and her strategies work. And today she's here to talk about Savy Wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Welcome, Peggy.
Thank you so much, Carissa. It's so great to be back with you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. And you are just radiant today, your smile and the joy, because you get to give, you get to share of yourself and your heart and what you've been up to. So yeah, what about your book that you just came out with? Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's called Savy Wisdom from Beyond. You know, when my mentor passed away, it was Bob Proctor. And when he passed away.
Wow, that's an amazing mentor.
Yeah, wonderful guy. I met Bob in January 1979. And yeah, it was a long time ago.
You knew him back then. Amazing.
Yeah, I was working for a company in Toronto. I was born and raised in Toronto, even though I live in Ottawa, Ontario now. And at the time, the company I was working for had hired him to come in and do this kickoff event, like come and get everybody inspired. It was January and the company was very progressive and we were doing really well in a brand new industry. And so Bob was hired to come in and just kick off the year to all the employees. So it was mandatory that we attend this session. I didn't want to go because that was so miserable, you know, and I didn't know who this speaker was. I didn't know anything about personal development. I was just a miserable person.
Like you didn't like your job and
I didn't like life.
Oh, in general. Wow.
Oh yeah, I was pretty miserable. And so when I was told we had to go to this evening session, it was mandatory. And of course, at the time I had such a bad attitude. It was like, rawr, you know, grumping and being grumpy. And so I decided, okay, well, I'll go and I'll just look for the first opportunity to sneak out the back of the room. And so I showed up for the event just as it was about to begin, because I was definitely not at that time an early bird. And there was only one seat and it was front and center. So I found myself front and center. And then they brought out this man who was, you know, this booming voice. And it was like, whoa, he woke me up. And,
wow. And how old were you at that time, if you don't mind?
I had just turned 20.
20. Oh my God. 20. That's incredible.
Yeah. So that was such a great experience. And of course, you know, his teachings, you know, I just began to devour them. I was so in love with the ideas and the concepts behind them. I studied like crazy. He suggested a book, I would devour it. He had a program, I went to it again and again and again and again and again. Wow. And I just fell in love with self-improvement, and mostly because I wanted to fix my own life, which I did, and still work on it. It's not something that's ever over or done, right? And so he saw me in all the seminars, and it was at that point that I decided to become a front row girl. And so if he had a seminar, I'd be there an hour early to line up. So when the doors would break open, I'd race in and grab my front row seat. And so Bob got to know who I was, and I wasn't afraid to ask questions. And I would ask him, would you meet with me? And he's like, okay. And we'd have these private meetings.
I love that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
you don't come across
too.
that every day to be waiting.
Yeah, it's true, and I think when you're a teacher of these materials and you find somebody who is like a panting dog, like they just feed me.
I get like that. I get like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mentors.
Yeah, for sure. And so I was so much like that and so appreciative of it. And he watched the evolution, the transformation that occurred. And of course that caused him to feel good too. And we developed a friendship. And actually in the early 80s, I started dating his son, Brian Proctor. And
now that's interesting, because
yeah.
I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if Bob ever asked her out, but you were too young, but his son.
Yeah, I started dating his son, and it didn't last long. We didn't date very long. I don't really even remember it. But, we stopped dating.
No offense if you're listening.
Yeah, right. Well, we stopped dating, and he ended up meeting this lovely girl, Leslie, who I think he had met before we stopped dating. But anyways, he met this girl, Leslie, and they ended up getting married and had children. And so, Brian's blessed with two wonderful children that he absolutely loves and appreciates. So it's all perfect, it's all perfection. But having that, up close and personal experience with Bob, developed into a wonderful friendship. And then we started teaching together. He would invite me to speak at all of his seminars. And then we formed a business together. We had a business together for a few years as well. And, so it was very fun.
What was that? Was that a coaching business?
Yeah, it was speaking. We did programs called Making a Million Look Small. And we had an intensive, I know, what a great name. We had an intensive event for 6 months as well. We had total wealth immersion. We were doing all the same work, but just, different perspectives. Although Bob and I share a lot of the same understandings, of course, and both of us teach in a very simplistic style. So it was great. And so I had written Savy Wisdom. There's 3 books in the series.
Okay.
So I decided in 2020, I believe it was, to write this book, Savy Wisdom. And it's a fiction book. It was my first fiction. Because I really believe people want to be entertained more than educated. And so I wrote this story about a young girl who, her name is Sophie, and that's me, who goes to a park one day because her boyfriend from high school ended their relationship, and she's devastated and she wants to end her life. And so she's in the park early one morning, and she unexpectedly meets this elderly gentleman and his name is Savy. And it stands for Stephen Alexander Vaughn, but people called him Savy. And so she meets this gentleman in the park, and they begin a friendship, and he becomes her mentor. And that's where the first one begins. It's sort of like a suicidal young girl, teenage girl who, reclaims her life and turns her life around, and, the different things that she goes through. And then the second one, Savy Wisdom 2, is where Sophie gets diagnosed with cancer, which I did, as you know, and he guides her through the healing experience, which he did, and I was healed. And then Savy dies. My real Savy died. And so I was inspired to write Savy Wisdom from Beyond, where it starts with Sophie has this longing to connect with her mentor who's passed on. She's really missing him. She's starting to have some challenges again, and she wants to talk to Savy. And then he shows up in her dreams. And they started a dialogue again, or not start, but their dialogue is in a different form. And that's what Savvy Wisdom from Beyond is all about. So I ended up doing a trilogy. They're going to be made into a movie as well.
I was going to say, that just sounds like a movie or a series or something.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. So you've already had that vision and
yes,
coming. So
yeah.
what's the progress on that? So you pitched
you know,
it and
yeah, there's a producer who's already, they're doing out the contract now. And I don't understand the whole Hollywood scene. It's, it's not something that I'm accustomed to. So sometimes when he's talking about what's next or what's happening, it's like Charlie Brown was listening to his teacher.
wow.
Right. Like,
right.
So it's like, okay. I mean, it's just all going in the right winning direction. So, it's all good. And I just stay focused on the end result, which is, seeing the movie being a big hit. And, could it be a series? Sure. It could be a mini series. Could it be, a longer series? Yeah. I mean, it could be, because I was asked by one of the studios, a very big studio. I won't say the name yet. But one of the big studios, they asked, what's my next book? And am I ready to write it? Because they want the follow-up. They want what happens after Savvy Wisdom from Beyond. And I have the idea for it already. But that's where it's at. We're going to be doing a press release soon. So it'll be out in the world. The whole world will know that it's happening. So we're at that point. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't happen fast enough because I'm a real doer and make things happen kind of person. So when I'm told Hollywood is a little bit, slower or longer, it's like that does not compute.
It's not instant. Well, I mean, it's still moving forward though, and it's incredible, right. Amazing. I love that. And then so there's so much inspiration from Bob Proctor and your relationship together, right? And your own journey.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So do you believe that everyone has the power to change their life?
Oh my goodness, of course. If they have, consciousness. If they're not conscious, then, they, in other words, if they're in a coma, although I mean, it still could be done, but absolutely, I really believe. But it has to, I mean, it's not easy. Wallace D. Wattles wrote a book called The Science of Getting Rich. And he said in that book, this is the hardest work you'll ever do. And it is hard work. And, sometimes it takes years, to really create that transformation. It doesn't have to take years. The whole understanding of how to change one's life is really rather simple. However, what's the challenge is, or why there's a challenge, is because we're habitual. And we're so habitual in our ways. We're habitual in our thinking. We're habitual in our feelings. And we become addicted to certain emotions. And we live in a world where the whole idea of transforming your life, or the concept of manifesting a dream when you have no idea how it's going to happen, is not the way we're all conditioned. We have not been pre-conditioned that way. So to really begin to think differently or uniquely, it's going to take some time, because you have to retrain your brain, basically, or retrain your mind is really what you're retraining. And it's going to take a considerable amount of effort and attention. However, the rewards are there. I mean, they really are there. And I mean, we look at anybody on this planet who's accomplished anything great. It was very likely a challenge for them. It wasn't easy breezy, just a toboggan ride down a hill and woohoo,
Yeah, because we see them at the end because they're famous now or whatever, best-selling author, but not knowing that it could have been 20 years, 30 years, however long it was.
Yeah, for sure. And even when you create the success, there's going to be challenges there too. So I think the best thing that we can do for ourselves is to strengthen ourselves, like to strengthen the beliefs that support you. It's like when you and I had the conversation about cancer, when I was diagnosed with metastatic cancer, it was just like, oh, okay, well, what's great about this? Where are the blessings? And that's uncommon thinking. That's not the way most people think. Most people go to, oh crap, or they'll start to think of, why me?
I did.
Yeah.
I went through that for
Sure.
sure. But you already had this incredible mindset that
Right.
you knew that there was something in you knew that it was a lesson. There was a learning,
Yeah.
that it was temporary, that this was not deciding your fate. For sure. You have so much confidence. I feel it in you.
Yeah. And the thing is, there was some fear there. It's not that it wasn't there. It was because, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about the day I had gone to a doctor because I had this lump show up in my neck. And one of my friends said, well, did you get the vaccine? It's like, yeah. And they said, which arm? I said, my right arm. And they said, oh, well, a lot of people are getting lymph nodes swollen from the vaccine, the COVID vaccine. And so
I have heard that cancers have been on the rise because of that.
Yeah. And so when she said that, I just thought, maybe it's just a lymph node swollen. And so I went to my doctor, and my doctor said, that's probably nothing. Come back in 3 months. And I'm glad I didn't listen to that advice. And instead, I called a clinic where you can pay. And of course, in Canada, we have a medical system that's all covered, right? But I wanted
universal healthcare, correct?
Right. But I wanted it looked at. And the another option for having that done, because my own medical doctor said, come back in 3 months if it's still there. I paid a clinic, and it wasn't a lot of money. It was just a few $1,000s. And I paid this clinic, and I went to see them within a matter of 3 days. And so while I was there, they're doing an ultrasound. They could see there was something else, and they scheduled a biopsy right away. And so I was involved in treatment before the 3 months was even up, from my doctor, because they realized that it's metastatic cancer.
Be a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there. And so I wanted to take care of it right away. So the day that I had gone to this new doctor's office and he's checking me out, he said these words. He said, assume it's cancer until proven otherwise. And I remember just being kind of floored by that, thinking, what kind of doctor tells you to assume it's cancer, right? And I guess it's an honest doctor, like that might be the answer to, to some people, say,
right. Because
right?
they're all thinking that, all doctors, not to put them in a category, but you don't tell your patient or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Don't cause them, fear unless it's, warranted. So he told me that, and then they scheduled the biopsy. So I came home from that appointment, and I was feeling fearful. And this is before I knew that it was metastatic cancer. And so I came home and I just laid on my bed because I was feeling a little overwhelmed, or maybe a lot overwhelmed. And Bob Proctor called me, and I laughed because he just knew when to call. I mean, it was like an intuitive sense, right? And so I just put my head on the pillow. I'm thinking about it. And I know this is not the thing to do, right? This is not the right action to take. And so my phone rings, and
Not recommended.
Yeah, exactly. So I look at my phone, and it says Bob Proctor. It's like, how does he know? And so I answered the phone, and he says, how are you doing? And at that point, he was calling me Sophie, and I was calling him Savy, right? Because of the Savy Wisdom series of books. So
that's goes, so special.
It is very special. And so I said to him, I said, I just came back from the doctor. And then I started crying. And he's like, what the hell's going on? In his big booming voice, which is so good because that breaks the pattern, right? Like, what the hell's going on? So I told him, and he goes, well, that's just ridiculous. You're laying in bed thinking about something that you don't even have a diagnosis for. Like, get to bed right now. And he's shouting at me. And I know Bob only does this from love, right? So I'm not feeling like I'm a child who's just been scolded, by her parent. It's just like, get out of the bed right now. He said, get in your office. And he said, write this down. Every cell of my body is vibrating in perfect harmony with, like this kind of thing.
Oh, beautiful.
He gave me an affirmation to say, and he goes, okay, but you got that written down? Yes. Okay. Repeat it to me. So I repeat the affirmation to me. He goes, okay, I want you to say that like multiple times a day. Put it somewhere where you'll see it, put it in multiple places. And so I did. And, that was really a wonderful tool. So, I felt the fear for a moment. And, I think what's really important that everyone understands is that I don't think it's realistic, and I'm cautious how I say these words, but I don't think it's really realistic
You're
to be
trying
positive.
to be politically correct. I understand.
Right. Well, and like 100% of the time, are you going to be like with the permagrin on your face?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're all going to go through challenges. And even as you started, our conversation today, I got news this morning that one of my friends passed away, and it was unexpected. And so as you said that, like 20 minutes before we got on, I was feeling this sadness. Now, grief is not necessarily, it's not a bad emotion or a negative emotion.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's part of life. We're
Right.
going to go through that. And, when I heard that he had passed away, he had the exact same cancer that I had. Exact.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. But he didn't get it diagnosed early enough. And it had gone in the bone, in the blood, in his chest. It was everywhere. And fascinatingly enough, they started him on radiation treatment last Friday, which I thought was bizarre because they had told him there's no chance, there's no hope. Like basically you're getting a death sentence, right? Like this is it, get your stuff in order kind of thing. But last week, the doctor told him, you might have a few years. And so that was pretty optimistic. So the fact that it's Monday and, he died last night and the nurses went into his room this morning and found him dead. And so he died by himself. But what is the good in this experience? No more suffering. Like he was suffering. He had cancer in the tongue, which went into the neck, which was the same as me, but in his case went in the bone. So he had surgery just a couple months ago and they removed half his tongue. He couldn't talk properly. He couldn't whistle anymore. He loved to whistle. He loved to sing. And they cut out part of his jaw. And so they had done this patchwork. It really looked pretty bizarre. But anyways, no more suffering for him, because when he started radiation, I was thinking, because he kept asking me questions, like he'd send me a text and saying, how long after your radiation treatment started did you start to feel better? And I'm thinking, when my radiation treatment started, that's when the hell started. I mean, seriously, it was awful. Like awful. It wasn't long before I couldn't eat or drink. There was too much pain in my neck.
Wow.
I ended up being hospitalized because I was so dehydrated and it was getting so weak and losing weight so fast. And so I ended up being hospitalized for 2 weeks, had to have a feeding tube put in my stomach. I mean, it was just awful. So he asked me, he was about to start radiation. He was already struggling, like seriously struggling, and had already lost like 60 pounds. And so when he asked me, at what point do you start to feel better? I'm thinking, oh my God, I didn't feel better for, I'm going to say 5 months, before the better came along. It went from, I was feeling okay before I started treatment because, having the cancer, I didn't feel anything. I wasn't feeling sick, wasn't feeling bad. I would get up and do my thing every day. Once the treatment started, that's when the whole effect started. So anyways, it's part of life. We've got to understand this is part of, what you went through, what I went through. This is just part of our life experiences. But I do find that the more consciously aware we are, the more we're practicing these concepts of building our faith and our belief and knowing that we can manifest anything, including a healthy body that's cancer-free, then, we really can do anything. But there's going to be an enormous amount of work involved to do it. And the stronger you are, the better it goes.
Yeah, I love that. That's so inspiring. And I know you were hoping to give him some encouragement. It's going to be over soon. And you're just so authentic and honest that you were real with him, right?
Yeah, I had to be, And I felt bad. Like when he asked the question, it's like, wow. And like when his oncologist said last week, you may have years, I was wondering, are they just saying that, or, does he potentially? And I really think what it is this, is that everybody goes through their experiences in their own way. And, in some cases, these things, these health challenges that we're faced with, sometimes they're just a little more aggressive. It's like a freight train. In his case, it had gone so far, so fast that it was like a freight train. How do you slow that baby down? You just, I mean, it had too much momentum at that point. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So what's the best thing to do? Quality of life, I suppose. But he wanted to live as long as he could. His son is, in college. And, one day he sent me a text that I was on my way over to see my grandson and my granddaughter. And I said to him, "Oh, sorry, Al, I didn't respond sooner, but I'm, heading over to see my grandchildren." And he said, "No need to apologize whatsoever." He said, you got your priorities straight. You go and enjoy your grandchildren." He said, "I probably will never meet mine." And that's what he said. It's like, oh my goodness, it's true. He probably won't. He had one son, and his son was in college. So I think Christopher just turned 21 last week. And, it is what it is, but, it is part of life. And, I have a team of people that work for me. And this morning when I found out that Al had passed away, I told the team because they knew who he was. And they're like, "Oh, we'll take your calls today. We'll reschedule whatever you have on your agenda." And I said, no, the show goes on, right? The show's going to go on. Like, I'll do my calls.
That was so nice.
Well, what are you going to do, right? What am I going to do? Go sit in my living room and be sad? Not that I'm not saying not to grieve. There's a time for grieving for sure. Right. But I also feel such a responsibility to getting the message out there to people that, I just want to do the work. I really, really I wanted to meet with you today. I want to serve my clients. I want to teach my class at 2:00. Like, I want to do all these things, and I have every intention of doing them. So it's like that expression, get over yourself. Get over yourself.
Well, at least give yourself some time, some time to heal and he was such an important part of your life. And it's just interesting that, the doctor's saying you have a few years to live, and do you want to do the radiation? And your intuition saying, well, like, maybe it's too late, because sometimes radiation is not, I don't feel recommended. I'm not a doctor, but if it's progressed too much, it can actually, I've read research that it can spread the cancer.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I think it depends on the type of cancer.
Yeah, totally. So what was your healing process so you did this affirmation with Bob Proctor for your own cancer and healing. So you did traditional treatment as well as energetic?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not like a full on, forget the, what the healthcare system offers, but I combine. So I'll combine the holistic approach. Yeah. So one of the processes that I created back in the 90s is something called a Power Life script. And it's a process where you think about, how would you love to be living your life? I mean, if your life was magical or the way you want it to be, write out a detailed description of what that is in the present tense, as if you're living your life that way.
I'm writing that down.
Record it and listen to it every day. And so this is something I've been doing for about 30 years now. And, I had, in my life script that I'm healthy, but I don't think there was enough of an emphasis on it. And so
because you just assumed you'd always be healthy and vibrant. Right.
Right. So I changed it and I put a lot of focus on health, just pure health. Every cell in my body is healthy. I feel energetic. I feel vibrantly alive and all of that. And then Bob created a customized audio meditation for me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Can we go back to that script? Because I wrote that note down. That's amazing. How long is the script? And do you read it? Yeah. And do you read it out loud? Oh, look at how joyful you are in talking about this. Your work.
I love I really feel that the Power Life script, because I've used it and how it's changed my life, and so many people that I serve, same thing.
Yeah.
So how long? I think everybody's different. My version right now, I don't even know how many pages it is in Word, maybe 8, but I put big font so that I, can read it. And so my Power Life script happens to be 11 minutes and 11 seconds, oddly enough. And I love 11:11. So it's 11 minutes. 11.
That's a master number. Yes.
It is a master number. So I record it, and it's like, I'm so grateful for every part of my life. I'm happily married to my husband. He's happily married to me. Our marriage gets better and better every single day in every way. We constantly laugh together. And it's talking about how I live my life, the people that I serve, the clients that I'm blessed to serve, friends, family, our home, my health, his health, like just all of it, my family's health. And anything that's important to you, anything that, you could consider, writing out goals first. And then what would you see were that to happen? Because I put in visuals, I really love looking out the window and watching the sunset, on the water in front of our waterfront home, things like that. And so I started that process back in the 1990s. So the way that it works is you write it, you record it, and then you listen. Now, the nice part is the only thing required is to just use your finger and push play, right? Just push play. That's it. Oh, that's all you have to do, because, we're habitual beings. So we're in the habit of thinking a certain way. So when you listen to a Power Life script, it just constantly impresses into your subconscious mind until it becomes a part of who you are. And I really feel that was a big part of my healing experience, because I kept impressing it. So, I wasn't very active because I was flat out. I was in a hospital bed for a while. And so I had 2 sets of earbuds that I constantly kept charged, or just plug into my laptop headphones, and always have them with me. And I would just listen and listen and listen and listen and listen. And so it's like a strengthening of your emotional, being, your muscles, your mental muscles, your emotional muscles, your spiritual muscles. It's just constantly strengthening them. And so I was very fortunate that I had the time during the healing part to just listen. Oh, and I didn't feel like it some days. I was just like, even to reach over and have to put them on, I was like, felt like effort, but I did it anyway.
You did.
Yeah,
was it because you had the surgery to remove?
No,
you never did.
The only thing I had was radiation.
Yeah. Oh, so you only did radiation, no chemo.
Yeah, no chemo.
Okay.
And the reason why no chemo and no surgery, the chemo didn't really, with this type of cancer, it doesn't do much.
It doesn't work. Okay, got it.
Work. Radiation apparently works 90% of the time.
Oh my God, that's incredible statistic.
Really good odds.
Especially maybe when you caught it too.
Exactly. Because my friend that died this morning, he's in that 10% because they didn't catch it with him. And interestingly enough, my friend's husband has it. A neighbor has that cancer. My next door neighbor here, his brother-in-law has it. It's really weird. Really weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah, are getting this type of cancer. I don't know if it's like, when you get a red car and all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere. I don't know if it's that.
Oh, that kind of phenomenon. Yeah.
I
did hear there is a rise in cancers. I did hear that. Yeah.
Did you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And statistically.
Yes. Stress causes sickness, right? Disease. And
there's an emotional component definitely too.
Yeah. And, I should probably ask my oncologist, because I go every 4 months now. I'm in my second year. It's gone now, but they still watch it closely. Yeah. And I should ask her, is there a rise in cancer? Because she's ears, nose, throat. That's her type of cancer. She's an oncologist for radiation. I was actually assigned 3 oncologists, a surgeon, a chemo doctor, and a radiation. Now, the chemo, they said, could help, maybe. And so they gave me the option whether I wanted it or not. And I said no, because I figured the radiation is going to do it. I'm kind of glad that I didn't go for the chemo, because the radiation got it all.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
And so another part of your healing process, you told me, was a meditation that Bob Proctor made for you. And tell me how long was it? What did he say? And when did you listen to it? Did you listen to it while you were sleeping or before? Yeah, I want to hear.
I listen to it every day at different times during the day. It was 20 minutes long. It still is 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
And so he just starts by, there's music behind it, and he just asks you to get really relaxed. And then he guides you to see like violet energy, coming in through the top of your crown and into your body, and allow it to permeate your entire being. But it's a healing energy. It's lavender. And so
that's divine color. And yes.
Right. So it's like it's permeating your entire being. So he walks you through all that. And then he has you go into a room in your mind. You're going into this room and you walk into this space, and it's the most beautiful space you've ever been in. And it's all guided, right? Like, just relax in this space and take a look around. You're feeling really, really good. And you're seeing only the things that you want. And it's just guiding you throughout the whole thing. And then he has you, then counting. So he counts to 10 to put you in this relaxed state. And then he goes from, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 back to, okay, now you're walking out of the room and you're just feeling healthy, or not just, you're feeling healthy and vibrantly alive. And that's it. It's really a lovely, his voice is very soothing as well.
Yeah.
And I had a similar type of meditation he had made for me before, because we're so close. Like, I knew he did meditations, and I know there's a bunch of them online.
Yeah, you can search online. They're amazing. Right. I did one on abundance from him.
Right. Yeah, that's a very popular one. And what I liked about Bob doing them for me is that he would customize them. He'd say, what do you want to work on? And, like whether it's like being relaxed on stage, because I used to get really nervous before I went on stage. I would love to be up there and I'd love to be teaching and speaking, but the before part, I'd be like, like a lot of people are feeling that fear and wanting to run out the nearest exit door. And so I had asked him to create an audio for me on that, how much I love getting on stage and how relaxed I am and how effective I am. Because once I start, if I'm on a stage, no problem. I'm rocking and rolling, and, all that fear's gone. But it's just the before part I wasn't really enjoying. So I asked him to help with that. And he had created a meditation for that as well.
That's amazing. So how long did it take you to heal from diagnosis to cancer-free?
Yeah, I started treatment on September 9th in 2021. And
oh my gosh, so recently.
Yeah.
I started in 2020.
Oh, okay. And I was, it was recommended 35 radiation treatments. But I think the 21st or 22nd, I was hospitalized because I was so sick, like really sick. And my husband had to call an ambulance, and they took me in. And I couldn't keep anything. I couldn't eat, couldn't drink. And even when I took the pills for the pain, because I was in so much pain, and I had burns, like I was all burnt from the radiation as well. So I just vomit all the time, which was not good because I didn't have anything in my stomach to vomit.
Yeah.
And so that was around middle of October. I ended up in the hospital. I was there for 2 weeks. I got out, and then the recovery began, but I only had 29 treatments. I could not do any more. I was too sick. So I had 29 of the 35. My oncologist wasn't happy about that, but I said, no, don't worry about it. We got it. I felt intuitively it was fine. Yeah. And so they did a CT scan in January and to see,
January, what year?
2022.
Oh,
to see if there was anything left. And she called me, I'm thinking about 48 hours later to say, and she was surprised, but she called me to tell me it's gone, all gone. There's nothing there.
I love that you didn't have to do as many as they thought.
Yeah. And I asked her, like, why 35? Like, why not 30? Why not 30? Right. Why 35? And they said that they had found that for the majority of patients, that's what was required. So it became standard.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are, what, your diagnosis or your treatment is going to be 35 radiation treatments. So they got it with 29. And it was pretty aggressive. When I went one time for my treatments, I took some pictures. I went behind the curtain, where the radiation specialists are, and they had all my images on the screen, and I snapped pictures of it. And what you'll see in the images is all these red areas. And I didn't know, is that where the cancer was? And I asked a doctor client of mine, what was that? And she said, that's where they were treating you. That's where they were zapping you, is where the red is. Like, oh my God, no wonder. Like, I lost my hair. This is kind of weird, but there was like a strip of hair at the back of my head that was gone.
Interesting.
It was gone. And like, I know chemo usually makes you lose your hair.
Yeah.
But I had this strip where my hair, it's all grown back now, but it was all gone. And burns, like even now to touch my neck, it hurts. Touch, because this, I asked the oncologist, I said, will that ever be better? And she said, no, like it's damaged the whatever it is. I don't know what the medical term is. And so, it was really, really taking its toll on me. So that was September 9th. They started treatment. October, I was hospitalized. Back home in November, recovering, had a stomach tube for 5 weeks while I was trying to put nutrients in and heal my throat, because the tongue was the back of my tongue and in my neck. And so I started eating a little bit in December. But weird thing, if you get radiation to your mouth, it damages the salivary glands. And so your taste buds are screwed up. I mean, they really are.
Oh, wow. Did they come back? I mean, how are you feeling now? Did they come back?
Just, what's weird? And I don't know whether this is normal or not. Just lately, they're coming back. But they worked. Like, I couldn't eat anything that was citrus or acidic, like fruit tastes terrible. Like lemons, like anything with lemon in it. Ketchup, like tomatoes. I used to eat tomatoes. I can't eat tomatoes now. So some of it came back, not all of it. And some of it came back. But the appetite, it also suppresses your appetite. And so now I almost have to force myself to eat because I don't
you don't have that
like
desire.
Eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind that, though, to be honest. I really don't.
You're more productive, I bet. Oh, yeah, I have to eat today.
Well,
Okay.
what I like about it is, like there's no more tendency to eat all kinds of, food that may not be good for me, right?
Yeah,
And,
good point.
yeah, like breads, like anything dry, breads, crackers, cake, they're very hard for me to eat now because of the damage from the radiation, which is fine. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Vegetables I can eat, vegetables I can eat all day long and they taste terrific. So I make smoothies, I take supplements, there's certain things that I've come to like. I like sauces on everything.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's so interesting. So, and did you feel like there was any part of this that was a gift, like you learned more about your body and almost like this thing you were saying, oh, now I only eat healthy.
Yeah. Well, I think, there really were so many gifts. And, my husband was an absolute saint through the whole thing.
Oh, you really found the truth of who he is throughout the process.
I knew the truth. And I've been madly in love with my husband ever since our relationship started. We've been together over 18 years. I'm so blessed. And ask anyone that knows me how much I rave about him all the time. I think people might think he walks on water. He's just an incredible human being. Like, I have been so blessed to have him in my life. He is just an absolute gift. And what's interesting is when I was going through that, his mother was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh,
yeah. So I was in the hospital. He was, with me every day, coming to see me every day. And while I was in there, his mother had been taken to the hospital as well, not here in our city. She lived in another city. and she had a problem with her back, and they discovered she had kidney cancer. And they basically told her that, there was no hope. It had gone too far. And so he's dealing with his wife, going through what I'm going through. And then his mother gets diagnosed, and she lived 4 hours away. So once I got out of the hospital, then he was able to go see her. And so it was a really challenging time for him too, to go through all of that. And she passed away March last year. So she had been diagnosed in October 2021 and passed away in March 2022. But he's just an amazing man and such a gift. So for me, it was, my team jumped in. Like I thought radiation, no problem. I'll be able to do all my classes and, work with my clients. And I asked my oncologist, can I work through this? She's like, oh no, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was getting in for. And then I understood after it started, okay, now I get it. But so many people, friends and family, and it was incredible. The support I had, like really, really wonderful. So I'm grateful to be healthy. I cherish life. I mean, I live my life on purpose. But Danny and I were driving on the weekend to his cousin's birthday party. And I said to him, do you realize it's been almost 2 years? Because it was June 2021 where I found the lump in my neck. And, here I am healthy and, fully alive and feeling so good. And just what a blessing it is to be alive and to be healthy.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many blessings in life, like truly so many blessings. Sometimes it's not always easy to find them, but they're there. If you look.
Yeah, that's incredible. So like for our audience, if they're looking at the first step in changing their life, would it be a desire, an awareness, and maybe this Power Life script?
Power Life script for sure. Everyone. Yeah. Like I really believe everybody on the planet should have one. If they have a goal.
Yeah. And kids too. Maybe that would be good for kids too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I've created recordings for my grandson.
So how sweet.
But even that'd be something I could do for my granddaughter too. It could be playing while they're sleeping because your mind is wide open.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a great book, this book by Robert Collier called The Secret of the Ages. This is one of my favorite books, and I keep it here on my desk. And he says somewhere in here, he said the most powerful technique for reprogramming someone's mind is when they're sleeping. And so you can play your Power Life script while you're sleeping, or even if you're having a nap, and it's still going in because your subconscious mind is always open to receive. Like we're taking in information into our mind all the time, just through our senses. Well, our senses are our hearing. So you could be listening to it at night. And if you have kids and you want them to feel confident about who they are, you want them to be better in school and get better grades, it's a great tool to create. So to create it, you just think of what would you love? What would you love to experience, have? You don't have to worry about the how. That's not important. That's not your job. The universe will figure that part out. Just, how would you love to be living your life? And if there's a certain belief that needs to be built, like, I absolutely know with certainty that, this is already done, then put it in, because you're going to hear that over and over and over again. And make sure that it's vividly real. That's really important. It's vividly real. So as an example, I mentioned looking out the window and seeing the sun, go down on the water, hearing the sound of the loons, at night, or being by the campfire outside, and singing songs with your family and friends, having marshmallow roast, whatever it is that creates the vividness of the reality of the experience, put it in, like I remember, one time I saw a commercial on TV for a Jaguar, and it was this little sports car. It was a brand new car that they came out with. It was called the F-Type, still is called the F-Type.
Yeah,
actually.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and I saw a commercial for it. It's like, ooh, I want one of those. And my husband said, well, you could probably buy a house, for the price of
the car. Yeah,
the car. And it's like, well, I don't want a house. Another one. I have a house, but I'd like that car. And so I went to test drive it. And that, of course, can convince me. I love the sound of the engine. And it was a second vehicle for me. I have my SUV. And so I just wrote I changed my Power Life script. Like, I love that I bought and own my Italian, it's called Italian Racing Red, F-type new convertible Jaguar. And I love changing gears. Now, what's funny is when I had written that and modified my goal statement and added that, the standard transmission wasn't available in that car, but I wanted standard transmission. So I called the dealership. I said, okay, I'd like to order one with standard transmission. They said, well, we don't sell it that way. And I said, well, call me when you do. And he's like, we're not planning on having one.
Yeah.
A few months later, he called me going, you won't believe it. And so
maybe you weren't the only one.
Yeah, maybe.
Because a car like that, people want to feel the transition.
So I ended up buying it, and it was a 6-speed, and it was awesome. And that was in my script too. Like, I love driving it with the roof down and just the wind blowing in my hair and hearing the sound of the engine. And so you just create your Power Life script as if everything in it is vividly real.
That's amazing. And do you do that for your clients? You do that process, and how long do you suggest working with you or taking your classes before they get results?
Well, that's a great question. The idea behind it is to create the experience in the now, right? As if it's here now. So in a way, the results are already there, because the results are consciousness, right?
It's another reality. I see what you're saying. It's just, it is real because you're creating it. Interesting. So it's a shift in perspective and knowing that it's already on its way. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So how long does it take? I've heard stories of like one client of mine, Tom, he wanted to increase his income 10 times. 10 times. He did it in a month.
Amazing.
I had another client, she was told she couldn't get pregnant, and her husband wanted to have a baby, and they wanted to have it like, what's the word? Like naturally, organically. They didn't want to, go through all these.
The fertility. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't want to do all that. They wanted to have a baby. And it wasn't that she was told no, like she won't get pregnant. It was that, I guess, the likelihood was very, very low, and they had been trying for a long time. And I said, you got to see it as if it's done. Like, you've got your baby, you're holding your baby in your arms, you've got your nursery ready, like, see it all. And she did. And we had a Zoom call one day, and I hadn't seen her for a while, and she had a baby. It's like, she said, this is a result of a Power Life script. And it was like, wow.
That's so awesome. Now, I'm wondering if there's other things that can block you. Like, for example, can you have this Power Life script, but maybe part of it is not your destiny. And maybe later on, you're grateful that you didn't get that, or there could be some like family, like DNA or blocks. Sure. How does that fit into your theory?
Oh, great question. Really great question. First of all, I tell people all the time, my middle name is Flexible, Peggy Flexible McColl, because you have to be flexible. You really have to be, in the manifestation process. Like, we're powerful beings, but we can't create anything and everything. It's right. And I'm a powerful creator. You're a powerful creator. And like, I'll use an example. Let's say I had my heart set on a particular home that I wanted to buy, and I saw myself living there, with my parents or whatever, right? But somebody else had the same idea, and they saw themselves living there, and, they ended up manifesting it, and I don't. Well, let it go, right? Let it go. This or something better.
That's something better. Yeah. Because the universe could have something even better for you. That's true.
Exactly. That happened to me one time when I had bought a custom design home. And then, a long story short, the builder, she pulled out of the deal because the real estate market had increased substantially since I bought it by the time. So I bought it with a close date of 4 months down the road. And the market started going bananas. And she was like, oh, I don't want to sell it to you. I want to sell it for more. And so she told me, well, I'm going to rip up your deal. And it's like, you can't do that. That's illegal. And so I said to her, that's illegal. And she said, sue me. And
So did you?
No.
Okay.
So what I did was, I immediately thought this or something better. So I went back onto real estate and I found another home that was so much better. It was so much better. And it was not a new build, but it was a resale. And the couple really wanted to sell it fast because they were splitting up.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got one heck of a great deal on a spectacular home that was on a beautiful piece of land that backed onto a private golf course. It was gorgeous. So I got a much better deal.
That's amazing. Okay, one last question. I mean, I could talk with you all day. You're amazing. I love your energy and your clarity. And so what is Zen success to you?
Oh, I love it. Oh my God. I just love that name so much. I think it's like two of the most brilliant words that should be together, and in all of eternity. Like seriously, like, so many people are stressed, or they're uptight or they're trying to force things. That is not the best way to manifest. It's not even a way to manifest. I guess it might be a way, etc. But, when you're relaxed and you feel that, like the sense of success, you just feel and know that your success is absolutely guaranteed. To me, that's like Zen success. Like Zen success is relaxed in the knowing that what you desire is already here. That's what it is for me.
Well, I love that. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you and hearing about your books and new series, Savy Wisdom. How exciting.
Thank you.
Or show, our movie. We don't know what it is. I'll put your website and how to order your books or sign up for your programs in the show notes. So thanks for being on my show today, Peggy. Even with everything you have going on, I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too. It was so much fun. I loved every second of it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
You too.
That's it for today's episode of Zen Success. Head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Zen Success is also available on the radio in select markets through amfm247.com. Subscribe to the show and share with friends. Be sure to head on over to zensuccessshow.com to help you on your Zen success journey and join us on the next episode. May you find your own Zen success in life.